So this is Poetry Slam. It's a word party game for 3 to 10 players, where players are coming up with words based on a word prompt, and then coming up with a poem that allows people to guess their word. With each round, players will lose letters on their board and not be able to use those letters in their words in later rounds. So the stuff on the table here, each player will get a player board with the letters of the alphabet on it, divided into different tiers. Each player gets a player screen, and there's some basic phases of the game on one side, scoring in the middle here, so players know what all the values are. Each player gets a score sheet from the score pad and a pencil, and each player gets 3 snap tiles. I'll go into what these do after. They're double-sided, so there's a snap on one side and a beatnik on the other. They all start beatnik side up. There are lost letter chips here, speed tiles that we'll get into after, word prompt cards, letter cards, and slam chips here. So the way this works is one player is designated to be the wordsmith, and they have 2 jobs. The first one is to create this line of speed tokens. I've set up a 3-player game here. So each round, 3 speed tiles are going to be drawn off this row, the next 3. And these are just done in order. So 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 5, 4, 3. You don't need to make the entire row at the beginning. You can just add to it as we use them up. So in a 3-player game, we're going to be taking 3 tiles off the end. And these speed tiles all have pip values on them of 5 through 1. That's the point value of the tile. So whoever finishes their word first will have the chance to grab any one of these tiles. They'll probably grab the highest value, but you may not always want to. We'll go into that in a second. Once those are put in the middle, the wordsmith will show flip over the top word prompt card and the top letter card. So here, first letter is K. Now everyone simultaneously will be writing a word on their score sheet where the first letter is K. So let's say you are going to write down kitchen. And I write down kill. And everyone's writing at the same time, obviously. I wrote down kill, I got it done really fast. I can grab any one of these tiles. I'll take this 5-point tile. You wrote down kitchen. Let's say you finished second and took this 4-value speed tile. And this player gets the 3. So once all players are done writing down their word, they can immediately take points for speed and length, because next to your word there are columns for points here, and there's a speed column and a length column. So speed is just the value of the speed tile you got. So you get 4 points for kitchen this round. In the middle of the player board here, there is a key for word length. So you can get 1 to 4 points for word length depending on how long your word is. So in this case, kitchen is a 7-letter word, and we're going to get you'll get 3 points for kitchen. So now, once everyone has written down their word, written down their speed and length points, we have the poetry round. And poetry in Poetry Slam is free form, so there's no turn order. As soon as you have a poem, you can just say it. The poems are rhyming couplets, which is a 2-line poem of about equal length that both lines rhyme. So in the case of kitchen, you might say, "This is where I go when I need a munch," or "the place I'm going to make my lunch." So you've said your poem. Everyone else now is trying to guess what your word is based on that poem. So let's say I guess kitchen. Each player guessing only gets 1 guess, so if you guess wrong, you can't guess anymore for this poem. So if everyone has guessed wrong, there's simply no points given out for for the poetry for this word. But let's say I guess kitchen. You, as the composer of this poem, will get 3 points. I'll get 1 point for guessing it right. So we would just mark down tallies in the poetry column here. You would get 3, I would get 1. Let's say my word was kill. So my poem, let's say, is thou shalt not do this, guy. Do it to me and I will die. So now I'm hoping someone will guess kill. Let's say this player over here guesses killer. That's perfectly fine. If the guess, it's at the words, it's the poet's discretion, but if the word is a derivative of the word, that's okay. So killer would work in that case. I would get 3 points for having someone guess my word. This player who guessed it would get 1 point. Let's say I was reciting my poem really slowly or something. Let's say I just said, thou shalt not do this, guy, and someone immediately says kill. I would only get 2 points for poetry because I didn't finish reciting my poem. The guesser would still get 1 point, but it incentivizes people to guess faster to take away that extra point from someone. They have a greater chance of getting it wrong and not being able to guess again as well. So there's a little bit of risk for guessing quickly there. So that's basically how the poetry works. Everyone is going to come up with a poem. They'll be guessing other people's poems. They're going to get points for their poem and their guesses. Once everyone is done, we move on to the next round. But before we do, we will be flipping up our speed tiles that we took. So flip this over, and there's a letter on the underside. This is a letter that you have just lost. You've lost your R. For the rest of the game, you can't use the letter R in your words. So it's going to be tougher and tougher. You have to be more and more careful when you're writing your words to avoid using the letters that you've lost. In this, let's say this player here, they had the 3-point tile. They lose their F, which is a little less valuable than the R. So if you are a player who's not really good at word games or is slow coming up with words, you are only going to be losing less valuable letters as the game goes on. If you're taking high point value tiles, you're going to lose the best letters, which makes it tougher for you later in the game. In my case, I got the 5 value tile. Some of these will say a tier rather than a letter. So that would cause me to lose any letter in tier 1 up here. This green tier, so I would lose my I, let's say. I can't use the letter I in words going forward. So everyone's lost their letter. We will take the next 3 speed tiles out into the middle, so we get different distributions as the game goes on. And there's always an equal number to the number of players that are put out here. So if we are playing with 7 players, 7 tiles will come off this row. And as this row becomes shortened, we just continue this pattern, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So they're ready for the next round. So these will get discarded. In a 3-player game, there's 8 rounds to the game, so you're going to have lost 7 letters by the end. So it becomes very tough to avoid hitting these letters. So let's say we're on to the next round. We flip over a new word prompt. Second letter from the last is N. So now everyone will write down a word again. Let's say you come up with trombone. Pretty good word. Second last letter is N, and you grab this. Oh. You don't need to grab the highest one. Let's say you don't want to lose a good letter. You could just take this. You'll get less points, obviously. But everyone finishes their word, grabs their tiles, and now you realize that you used an R in trombone. You're going to take a slam token for every time that you use a letter you're not allowed to use. These are worth -2 points each at the end of the game. So sometimes you might have a really good word and you're forced to take a slam. It might be worth it if the word is good enough. Or you might just do it by accident. If you had lost a letter that is required by the word prompt. Let's say you had lost this N. You could do trombone without penalty. You're allowed to use the letter from the prompt. If this N was in the second last spot, you could use it once in your word in that spot without taking a slam. But if you used two N's in that word, then you would be taking a slam for the other one. So with trombone, let's say your poem was, "It's a type of brassy horn. Stretch it long, it sounds forlorn." Pretty good poem. So that's where these snap tokens come in. Everyone has these 3 snap tokens that are beatnik side up at the start of the game. And those are given out, you can give out 1 snap to another player per round. So if I'm really impressed with that poem, I can give you a snap for that. So I give that to you. You can be impressed with someone's poem, impressed with a really good word. You could be impressed with someone's guess. If they had a off-the-wall guess that happened to be right for a really tough poem, you can give them a snap for that. That's beatnik poets snap for each other rather than clap. So you're showing your appreciation. Every snap you have at the end of the game is worth 1 point. Every ungiven snap is worth -1 point to you. So you're encouraged to give these out to other players as they do impressive things. So someone guesses trombone again, we get points for poetry. If no one guesses trombone, then I just won't get any points for that, but I can still get points from guessing other people's stuff. So again, poetry round ends, we'll lose another letter. We lose our J in this case because we only got 1 point out of the speed, and we just go on like that until we run out of rounds. The round count differs depending on the player count of the game. 8 rounds in a 3-player game, I think I mentioned. But yeah, that is Poetry Slam. Thanks for watching.